change me in any way. You don't own me. Don't tie me down, 'cause I'll never stay. I don't tell you what to say. I don't tell you.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Africa Teaching, a production of the Pepperbird magazine and Chesson Worldwide 360. I'm Karen McLaurin Chesson, your host for the moment. We are currently in Watupa, Massachusetts, and where I stand is sacred land. This edition of Africa Teaching is going to allow us to explore the Wampanoag Trail and the Wampanoag Indians. We also have the pleasure of learning about not just the sacred land, but what took place on Wampanoag Trail. In the meantime, I must introduce you to Donna Mitchell, better known as Menoweh, who will take you on a journey. And believe me, you are going to love it. Menoweh, thank you so much.
Oh, I'm so honored.
Oh, we're honored.
My grandfather is honored. Everything that has survived is honored that you have come here to this sacred place. A place that my family fought for. A place that we have been since 1709. Before this was the United States of America. And although many people in this region believe that there are no more indigenous people here, I stand before you, as many generations of women have done, who are the protectors of our land and the stewards of our land, to keep it sacred, pristine, a place where ceremony is done. As you can see, this plain rock faces east when the sun comes up, and when the sun sets, it faces west to where our ancestors go when they have passed over. On this journey that we will take together today, it is my honor to make you know that we, the peoples, the human beings, are still here.
So hold on, I'm supposed to go nowhere then. So you own me now? Okay. You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys. You don't own me. Don't say I can go with other boys.
I welcome you to Awashonks Woods, not Wilberwoods. Awashonks was the powerful female sachem of the Sakonnet band of Wampanoag people. And she lived on all of this territory, and her people shared all of these lands at one time before Benjamin Church arrived. And this rock here, if you can look closely on it, it says Queen Sachem of the Sakonnet. That is engraved in this stone. I don't know if you can zoom in on that, but if you could, it would be so powerful. And this natural trout brook goes all around the land. This is where she lived. And her people lived around her. So just imagine this being the village where all the medicine plants are that are still here. They're still here. Our way of life is still here, except that most of our people have been removed. But those that remain come to honor those who gave their life to try to protect us during the devastation and genocide and first Holocaust of the North American continent.
So hold on, I'm supposed to go nowhere then. So you own me now? Okay. You don't own me. I'm not just one of you.
Well, Benjamin Church's house. And as you can see, they could see all the English ships that came in to help colonize this land. Just imagine how clean and pristine and how that coastline was food and nurture and ceremony for my peoples. But now, because of the Western way of thinking, we can no longer walk down to that shoreline and enjoy its bounty. Because in their hearts, they own everything. But in the Creator's mind that put everything here for us to survive, we still walk these lands. So now, in the Western philosophy, here is the man that is honored. Benjamin Church. To be specific, Colonel Benjamin Church, who was funded by England to colonize and take over this portion of the Wampanoag territory. And as this plaque very proudly announces, Benjamin Church's house was 122 rods west by north from this stone. He lived and he thought we died. But guess what, Benjamin? We're still here.
You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys. You don't own me. Don't say I can go with other boys. And don't tell me what to say. And don't tell me what to do.
So now we're on Blossom Road, and the Blossom family was one of the founding families. That's why the road is named after them. And this is their original homestead. And this is when the families and the natives lived peacefully amongst each other before Fall River decided to take half of the land and to protect the woodlands for the reservoir. So I'm going to introduce you to a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person who not only is dedicated to his job, but dedicated to the mission of keeping these forests and these brooks and these streams sacred as well. And His Christian name is Michael Labassiere, and his native name, which I gave him, is Keeper of the Forest. Michael. So
Welcome back.
Welcome. So we've just done a tour. I took him all the way down to Benjamin Church and Swamp Road where Awashawks was. You should see all the trees that fell. You can't even go around. The bridges are all down there.
Wow.
And then we came back up when we stopped at Evelyn's Clam Shack.
Oh, nice.
And now we're here. And so next week, or we're going to be going back to the Perry lands. That's going to be the end where I'm going to tell the story of our survival. So if you can just kind of like tell us the history about the Perrys and the Blossoms and how we all lived as a community at one time.
Yeah, that's very much it. So here in, this is the east side of Fall River, or the east section of Fall River, and the North Watuppa Pond very much separates the city into two distinct parts. The west part of the city from the pond down in the Taunton River is the very urbanized, very heavily developed, formerly industrial, 92,000 people live there. And east of the North Watuppa Pond is the country, is the woodlands, which is the watershed forest that surrounds the North Watuppa Pond. And since the early 1700s, well, you know, there's been Native American people living out here before that, but in the early 1700s, when there was an allotment put aside and Donna's family and others lived on this particular portion of the land, they were really, even during a time of colonization, they were still, those families were the only families out here until maybe in the mid to late 1700s when Europeans started moving into this area. And they never moved in great numbers, and they lived on pretty large parcels and pretty large farms. And for many, many years, really for centuries, Perry family and others lived very much together, very much sort of an integrated existence. There's a record of cooperation and farm to farm and friendships and different things like that. And then in the early 1900s, when really the Perry family was the only family left here, and of course Victor served in World War II, and when he got out of the war, he worked for the water department. So it was like a homecoming. So he continued to live out here. He worked out here. He probably commuted on a footpath between Indian Town Road and Blossom Road. So the Blossom family moved in, probably in the late 1700s. We have records of them buying land in 1776, 78, 1780, like that. And they accumulated a big 300 or more size acre farm. So the Blossoms lived here for 3 generations. And the Blossoms were probably the first European family out here. So for many years, it was probably just the Perrys and the Blossoms, and then there were a few other people. With names that you would recognize. And then in the late 1800s, the city bought this property because the city began buying the land around the Watuppa Reservation. Around the North Watuppa Pond to protect the water supply, to protect the purity of the water. Yeah, and so they bought this land directly from the Blossom family after 3 generations, and then in 1911, the same year that your family moved across the street in the house that the city provided, this became established as the Watuppa Reservation headquarters, and from here since 1911 has been the head of the operations for managing the Watuppa lands, the Watuppa Reservation. Creating the fire lanes, planting trees, protecting the forests, cutting trees for different uses, and it's over 100 years.
So tell them, Michael, how you're still using the forest as my people did for our children, of teaching the respect and the honor and to take care of. How you, although you work for the city, you have taken it upon yourself to be the steward of these lands and to protect them and to make sure that they stay as sacred as humanly possible.
Well, how can you sort of spend time here? And I'm a forester. I went to school and learned the science aspect of trees. But how can you be out here and not be impacted by the sense of time and almost a sacred sense of beauty and understanding how the land functions and purifies the water, wildlife which is teeming out here. In fact, when this was created to be the Southeastern Mass Bioreserve, it was because it was recognized that this area was still pristine, and there was so many acre after acre protected, connected lands that it really was a habitat for all the native animals and vegetation that were probably here hundreds of years ago.
That have been here since the Creator created this place.
So how can that not impact you and affect you and just fill you with a desire to want to be a part of it, to perpetuate it, to protect it? And that's what we do. I mean, I'm really blessed that the Fall River Water Department has sort of understood in that kind of framework of things, understood their mission is broader than just water, if you will, and they've always been really supportive of just the whole protection of the whole thing. And we've had a great relationship for years, and it's something that the Water Department had before I was here.
And the Perry family is still in relationships. Michael and I meet often and talk about how to help keep this land protected and how to educate the next generation, to show them the value, to help them to understand that without the trees there would be no oxygen. And that if we keep clearing areas to put mechanical stuff, the more we do that, the more we are taking life away from ourselves. So we hope that when we come together and when Michael has school groups come and even walks, where people walk through the forest, where he shows them where the medicine plants are, or they walk along the lake, Watuppa Lake, that they get a sense of how the world could be. It's not too late to figure out how to work together and to share the bounty that the Creator meant us to do from the very beginning of colonization. And I hope in my lifetime, and I hope in Michael's lifetime, that we see more groups merging together that come with good mind and good heart and right purpose to make sure that this forestry is never destroyed anymore. Now we're back to the Perry homestead, and I just want you to take your camera and just flow around this side and see the magnificent holly that sits at the top of the beginning of our driveway, and this magnificent spruce and the shrub pines, and how we have just let everything grow to its natural beauty and tried to take care of it so that it can maintain its sacredness on this sacred land. So I very much look forward to now coming back, ending part 1 today, and coming back with part 2 so that I can share the story of my descendants who fought to protect this land. I hope.
So hold on, I'm supposed to go nowhere then. So you own me now? Okay. You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys. You don't own me. Don't say I can go with other boys. And don't tell me what to say. And don't